Welcome to our program on Kardec Radio.
Hello, dear friends. Be most welcomed to all Kardec Radio platforms where we are always nourishing our souls. I am Correa, and every Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we gather together to study the divine laws that shall align us with the abundant love of the Creator for all of us. What a beautiful proposal from the mentors of Kardec Radio. And it is with much gratitude today that we start studying the moral perfections. More particularly, we are going to look at vices and virtues. The focus of our attention tonight is going to be on question 893 of the Spirit's Book by Allan Kardec. So we shall begin by reading the question, reading the answer from the illuminated spirits, bringing a couple of highlights for our own progress, and then bringing about an exercise for the soul, and afterwards we shall finalize this moment together. So thank you, dear friends, for joining. Please feel embraced by the spirit mentors who have prepared this moment so lovingly for each and every one of us. Let us begin then by reading together question 893. Allow us to open the Kindle version of the Spirit's Book and begin reading the question. Kardec asks in question 893, which is the most meritorious of all virtues? We want to know. Please tell us. We want to work on it as well so we progress in this reincarnation that is such a blessing for each and every one of us. Let us hear the answer. The illuminated spirits answer to Kardec and all of us as follows. All virtues have their merit, because all of them are signs of progress along the path of good. There is virtue wherever there is voluntary resistance to the pull of evil tendencies. But the sublime aspect of virtue consists in the sacrifice of one's own interest for the good of others without ulterior motives. The most meritorious virtue is that which is based on the most disinterested charity. What a beautiful answer. We have much food for the soul here, dear friends. First, the spirit mentors explain to all of us that all virtues are a pathway that leads to God. This reminds us of Benjamin Franklin, one of the founding fathers of the United States of America. At the early age of 20, he himself developed a list of virtues, 13 virtues that he thought would be important for him to progress on in that particular reincarnation. He knew already, even though he was not officially labeled as a spiritist, that virtues were the pathway towards God. So he included in his list of virtues, for instance, the virtue of moderation, the virtue of frugality, the virtue of humility, the virtue of being industrious and productive, the virtue of silence, and every week he would assign himself to a particular virtue, and he would devote himself towards becoming more aware of where he was in terms of his progress, his command of that virtue, and how he could progress or improve his ability to put that virtue into practice in his daily life. We highly recommend that we here from the Spiritist community take advantage of this brilliant mind and emulate Benjamin Franklin's efforts by meditating upon becoming better aware of the virtues that we already brought with us from previous lives, from much effort and repetition, and the virtues that we are still working towards acquiring. So beautiful work ahead of us. Another highlight that the spirits bring to us is that we are developing muscles of the soul, becoming stronger spiritually every time we resist an evil tendency. So, for instance, when we are at home, for instance, we have a tendency to become choleric. We have a tendency to respond with anger when things are not in the place that we expect them to be. If we know we have this tendency to be angry or choleric or reactive to those surrounding us, we then become more virtuous every time we resist our own tendency to respond or react in a choleric manner. Beloved friends, did we ever stop to think that we can choose our emotions? Yes, indeed. So, one particular tool that we have available to us in order to resist our own tendencies and therefore not react to the situations that quote unquote may push our buttons is to realize that we can choose our emotions. This is something that Master Jesus obviously mastered. He constantly chose what to feel and how to respond to others. This is why, in great masterpieces of the Spiritist literature, like, for instance, the book Jesus in the Home by the Spirit Neo Lúcio through Chico Xavier, or the book Good News, Boa Nova, by the Spirit Humberto de Campos, also through Chico Xavier, we see the Master Jesus, when interacting with others, often paused, often used of silence, often meditated, often did not even respond to questions that were asked of him right away. Why? Because one, he already knew what we were seeking and thus only responded in a manner that would better assist us. And second, because he knew that he could master his emotions and there was no need to react. Every time we react and therefore do not resist our own habits or tendencies, we are being in tune more with our animalistic tendencies than with our spiritualized tendencies. As human beings, every time we resist the impulse to react, we are spiritualizing ourselves. And in question 893, just as we read, every time we resist our tendencies, we are acquiring virtues. So, dear friends, exercise for us. When we feel challenged, when we feel as though we are about to react to someone or something because we feel threatened, let us stop. Take a deep breath, as did Master Jesus, our guide and model, and tell ourselves we have a choice. We do not have to react. We can choose how to respond first. So we can look at scenarios. Scenario 1, if we become angry or choleric, what shall happen? Scenario 2, if we stop and don't respond right away, what shall happen? If we respond differently from our own pattern, what shall happen? We, as human beings, are neurologically wired to study our own emotions and to become better aware of the choices that we are making. This is what it means, beloved friends, to use discernment. This is why Spiritism is reasoned faith, because we no longer are faithful just because of an impulse. We are faithful through reasoning. Every time we are able to filter our emotions through reasoning, we are activating our prefrontal cortex all the more, and we can use better discernment in this way. Kardec was also very good at discerning, and the adult in us is very logical, very clear, very factual based. So let us exercise this particular divine quality that we are incarnated to improve in ourselves. Remember, exercise for all of us, ourselves included. Next time we feel challenged or threatened, let us tell ourselves we can choose our emotions. We have other choices rather than react. And remember, every time we choose not to react, says the illuminated spirits, we become more virtuous. And the third highlight that we would like to bring to all of our attention is that we now know that the greatest virtue of them all is to do the good without expecting anything in return. We believe mothers, good mothers, are in great training in the school of life to achieve this level of disinterested charity. Because good mothers, beloved friends, are often hungry and they attend to their child first. They are tired, exhausted, severely sleep deprived, and yet they are smiling to their children. They often have to give up everything that they were used to prior to motherhood in order to prioritize their children. And they do it with love, without expecting their children to necessarily return that love to them. This is such a beautiful form of selflessness. Yes, dear friends, absolutely. This is what the spirit mentors identify as the greatest form of charity. So, how good have we been at giving without expecting to return anything in return? Because even at times we go to the Spiritist Center thinking, for instance, that if we do everything right, quote unquote, God will take care of our to-do wish list. But God, beloved friends, is not our slave, is not a genie of the lamp who is there just to serve us. It is the opposite. We are incarnated to serve God. So are we doing the good without expecting a return, including from God, to bargain with us and give us what we desire? How good are we at doing the good without expecting a recompense? This is food for thought for us. Yes, we may do the good and experience that good feeling that comes from the joy of spreading the good. And this is beautiful to feel this joy of living that is imperishable when we do the good. But what the spirit mentors are saying is when we do the half good, trying to bargain with God, saying to God, we will give you A so that you give us B. God, don't forget our wish list, please. No, dear friends, this is not how God operates. God doesn't have favorites. God doesn't take care of individual wish lists. God takes care of the common and general good, applying His blessings in all directions. So, beautiful exercises for the soul tonight, dear friends. Have we been resisting our own tendencies? Number one, did we know that we could choose our own emotions? And number three, here, how is our relationship with God? Are we able to do the good just because? These are our reflection therapeutic questions for tonight, dear friends. And so, feeling very grateful for the opportunity to learn together and to nourish our souls as a team in both realms, we wish you a beautiful evening, many blessings, and we invite you to stay tuned right here on Kardec Radio, because here we are always nourishing our souls. We already look forward, dear friends, to coming back next week at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for more. Thank you, dear friends, and many blessings. Bye for now.